clip. And welcome to another edition of the Nerdy Agent Podcast. I'm your host, Luke Pettersen, the only nerd today, with producer Haley and our in-house staging expert, Mel. I think this is your first time on camera, Haley. I know it's Mel's first time.
We did the listing one a couple
we did.
ago.
We did one. You were on camera. Her second time on camera. Today, we are going to get into real estate staging with Mel. We'll get into her background, her business, and talk everything staging. Thanks for being on the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. So excited to be here today.
That's awesome. We've been planning this for a couple weeks, so it's been in the works. To start, Mel, tell us about yourself, who you are, and what you do.
Well, I'm Melanie Joas. I'm with Stage to Sell in the advisory group. So I am the team stager, obviously. But I'm also an agent on the team, which is super fun, extra dynamic.
And how did you get, so you were an agent first, correct?
I was.
And tell us about, how long have you been on the team now? You know?
3 years.
3 years?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, times went fast, hasn't it?
I think.
I am, sounds right, yeah, no. Since the pandemic, time has turned a lot quicker for me.
And she also got the Spirit Award at the Argies.
Love that. The Advisory Realty Group Awards.
Yes.
That's fantastic. The 2022. So you've been on the team for 3 years. How long? And you've been running the staging business for the last year-ish?
Yep.
Year-ish or so. How did you get into the staging side of things?
So I actually, before I became an agent, my passion really was to be in staging and design, and I helped people outside of the real estate world with design, but I got into it by researching different staging schools that I wanted to be a part of, and I also joined an association called RESA. So that's kind of how it all began, and then, working with the team as well.
Is that a national? I guess for the listeners here, we're going to get into her staging tactics as well, but I also just want to get an idea of her business. Is that if someone was trying to get into it, is that a national, school association, or is it statewide, real estate? National. Yep. RESA is where you'd find that?
Yep.
Cool.
And there are, local associations as well, within the state, but it is at a national level. So the nomination that's up right now is a national nomination. I mean, people from all over the world are being nominated that are stagers.
Cool.
Or in design as well.
So to get into the actual staging in the market piece of this, can you explain the role of a home stager in the real estate industry and how it can benefit sellers and homeowners?
Yeah, so, I would say as a stager, one thing that, really, staging really helps a property pop online, pop in person. It creates an emotional connection. So sometimes people will say, well, great, I can just, do virtual staging and that will help a property pop online. And it will online, but then the buyer gets into the home and they're like, well, wait a minute, this isn't what I expected. So staging really helps set the property apart from other homes that are not staged, for one, and two, other homes that have virtual staging as well. So it just creates this connection, and they say, actually, there's a ton of statistics around it, but the first 15 seconds that somebody walks into a home, they make the decision if they want to move forward or if they want to leave the house. And 15 seconds is really quick. So you want to make sure when they're first walking in that they're like, whoa, right? Mm-hmm. This place is amazing.
I need to speed up my showings.
I think so.
I spend a lot of time in houses people end up not buying. Well, they already knew in the first 15 seconds. We sure just turned around.
They probably should just hire me as their stager. And
exactly.
Then it won't be a problem.
There you go. So then, continuing to move here, I'm looking at Haley to try and ask some of these questions here. What are some common misconceptions about home staging, and how do you address them?
This is actually one of my favorite questions that you have written here, but a huge misconception is staging is just decorating. It's actually not. It's completely different. And the reason why I say that is because people decorate their home when they're living in a home for functionality, not for staging. When you're staging a home to sell, it's different. You are not going to set the chair in front of the corner of a fireplace where you would for staging, because it's all about how the pictures are being taken and people walking through the home to see the space. But as far as like decorating goes, you're decorating for functionality. So it's completely different. You can't just, they're two totally different, it's not apples and oranges, or apples and apples, it's apples and oranges. Yeah.
So that leads me into a question that gets a little bit off the beaten path of the questions. Because I've always found that interesting, right? Whenever I'm in a staged house, I say to my buyers, I say, it's staged.
Yep.
Like, remember that. Have you found that buyers then struggle afterwards because the house had the furniture in a location that it wasn't actually going to end up being in when they actually live there? Like, it's almost a little deceiving.
I know it can, and that's not really our intention. As
No, of course
stagers,
not.
To be deceiving, but and I've never had anybody come back. If anything, I've had buyers ask, like, reach out and say, "Hey, would you be willing to come decorate my home?"
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So homes that I have staged for the team, I usually put out a little pamphlet with my information, and I have actually had buyers reach out and say, "Hey, come help me." So I'm doing that as well.
That's super cool.
So, what are some key factors that potential buyers look for when they're viewing a staged home, and how do you incorporate those elements into your designs?
So I would say that key factors as far as staging a home goes, you want to make sure that the property in itself is lighter and brighter, right? That it's cozy. Oftentimes I will see sellers will put like light bulbs in that are super cold, like the really bright white LED, and you don't want that.
Right.
You want to make sure that the light bulb is like a warmer light bulb, that it creates a cozy feel to it, which I know that sounds really silly, but that makes a huge difference. You want to make sure that you're picking like neutral tones for paint colors, because even though a buyer...
Do you paint the house?
I don't, but I do have a team that will support me behind the scenes.
I didn't know that painting was part of staging.
Well, it can be, yeah, painting and design. So, so all of this kind of like encompasses and like supports each other. So we do throw that out there, or we might even say to a seller like, "Hey, we would highly recommend that you potentially change your paint color. Like, for example, if the room is like
a
hot
neon
pink,
green."
yeah,
Dark red from the 90s.
Yes,
Oh, they
totally.
love that color.
And that is a part of our consultation when we're walking through the home. So I know I'm kind of jumping all over the place, but it is a part of staging to recommend some of those things.
Sure.
So,
and that does kind of lead me into my next question. So, and for the listeners out there, right? What I want you to take from this is, one, you have Mel here. We'll talk about her information afterwards. If you wanted to reach out and utilize her services in that way, I think it can be really beneficial for you, because it is very beneficial for every single one of our listings. But two, we like to add value for people. So how you can actually help your clients. If you take anything and you say, hey, maybe when you go to a listing appointment, you are in a position where you don't want to pay a stager, or you want to just kind of help sellers yourself, you can use some of this stuff. You can look at the light bulbs pretty easily and buy light bulbs for what, $10, $15?
totally.
And you can help kind of stage your listings on your own. And that leads me into my next question of, if you're a homeowner and you're an agent working with a seller, let's just say, and you're considering staging their homes themselves, let's say they're not on a team, they don't have access, they're not even in the Twin Cities market, right? So they're in a completely different area, don't even have access to you. What tips would you give them for kind of going about it themselves, or suggesting tips to their sellers, and what common mistakes would you avoid?
Sure. So actually kind of bringing it back to the light bulbs and the paint, if you will, even if somebody doesn't have access to me in person, they could actually do a FaceTime appointment with me where I help with just a staging consultation. But I would say, things that you really want to keep in mind is you want to depersonalize a little bit. I think it's actually okay. I come from the mindset that I think it's okay to leave a few family photos up. And the reason why I say that, I feel like most stagers would say absolutely do not completely depersonalize. But I also work in the real estate market, and I know what buyers are looking for, and they like that connection. So when they see, oh, a family lives here, we could have our family here too, I think that's great. And I've received that feedback from both buyers and sellers. So with all that to say, somewhat depersonalizing, taking down some sports memorabilia. Sorry, Luke. Sorry, AJ and Josh. It's just
So I should leave up my photos, but take down my sports memorabilia.
well, you don't want
maybe.
to take down. You don't want to leave up all of your photos.
Too many. Some of them.
Yep. So, like, if you have a shrine in every room, you want to take some of that down. And then same thing goes with sports. I think it's okay to leave some of it up, especially if we can work that into the decor, right? But you want to take down most of that, and also like degrees and certificates, because it's really about you and it's not about the buyer coming into the house. So again, leaving some photos up, I'm talking like 1 or 2 is okay. It creates a connection. I mean, even if you walk through new construction, you'll see that in a new construction stage, they have some pictures up. They want people to like envision themselves being there.
And what would be a common mistake? What's like people think you should do this, but you definitely should not. They need to avoid it.
Remember those white light bulbs I was talking about?
Yeah.
I'm telling you, they leave up these obnoxiously white light bulbs. They have to go. They're cold. They're icky. No, thank you.
So no bright, because I'm very particular about my light bulbs. Funny
Good.
enough, I hate the yellow light bulbs.
Oh, Luke, we can't be friends.
You like the yellowish light bulbs?
Yes, like the warmer tone.
Yeah, that's not.
I feel
Not
like that
the
makes
yellow
me
that I'm
tired,
thinking of.
kind
So then you have bright white, no bright white.
No ice cold bright white.
So like
Maybe
a
somewhere in
warmer.
between.
Somewhere in
Yeah.
between, that's what I was wondering.
Yeah.
And what's the name? Is there a name
Yeah.
of the color?
They all need to match. I
Yes.
oftentimes see people do not have matching light bulbs in a home when I'm walking through, and it is enough to drive me crazy.
And what's the name? Is there a name of that color? Because they all kind of have a name.
Pink.
Or no, not really.
No, I'll report. I will report back
Okay.
to you.
If you are curious what kind of colors, you can reach out to us. We're free to share any of that information as well.
Yes.
I just feel like that has to be such a skill to be able to like go to somebody's house and look at it from like who the sellers are to who the potential buyers are, right? Like the family photos or like the sports stuff. Like I feel like this is kind of like an active household. Maybe more active people are going to want to join, so they are not join, but like buy the house, so they would leave up like the sports stuff. Because some listings I've been to, like they have like just so much memorabilia. I'm like, this is crazy.
Yes. And so I think it's okay again to like leave up some, because it speaks to like who you are and just the character of the home a little bit. But it's when it becomes a shrine, either way, a shrine of personal pictures, a shrine of like what you and your kids have done or whatever. That's when you want to just eliminate some of that. And, you know, another thing too that I would really recommend, like, let's just say you are going to stage your home. Well, it's really important to have greenery in the home. Plants.
I love a good fern.
Yes. And it can be a faux plant. It can be a real plant. It doesn't matter, but greenery is really important.
So I want to add a bonus question here.
Okay.
For the listing agent that is dealing with a seller that has a shrine or has multiple shrines, but does not want to do anything about them, and it is impacting their ability, like it's hurting their staging of their house. I'm assuming you've dealt. I'm not going to say difficult, but just they're more set and they want to leave it. How have you handled that, or like what's the best way to go about guiding people in the right direction?
So usually when I go in, I'll do a consultation, I'll create a checklist, and in that checklist, I'll provide some of that information. Ultimately, it's up to them. It's their home. It's their decision. So, you know, I can't force it upon anyone, but I can just like give them some examples of homes that have sold in multiples, and this is why they're selling in multiples, and here are the pictures to support what I'm suggesting. And here are the statistics around it as well. And that usually helps the situation. But I have had sellers, I mean, even with my own listings that, you know, even like religious things they want to leave up because that's just really important to them. And I support that. If that's what they want to do, I totally get it. I can only make suggestions, right? But really, as far as like supporting other agents go, sometimes agents don't want to be the bad guy, if you will, and tell their clients. So, you know, really my role is to help with that gently, right? Like we want to be very mindful.
Your personality works really well for that.
Yes. Yeah. I want to be very gentle with how I'm proposing it to people.
And I think that is a really important piece there, because part of the reason why, I mean, with our team at scale, we are able to have a lot of people helping in different ways. I call them experts, right? It's like Haley's our social media expert. I don't know how to run a Facebook ad. I couldn't figure it out to save my life.
No.
She knows how to do them super easily. And so some people aren't able to do that, right? Whereas in this situation, like for me, I'm not an expert with staging at all. Like I tell people that, and that increases your influence on being able to help them with things, right? Whereas if I said it, it's like, you don't even know this. Like, why would I listen to you? So I think that's a really good piece of, if you have someone else going in there, they're definitely far more likely to be able to get their attention, influence them in the correct direction. To finish up, I always give people, oh, you have a question?
What is your favorite, like, if your house had a fire, what would be the one piece of furniture you would save from your house?
I like that.
Ooh, I have a really cool couch. It is super cool. I'm gonna have to share a picture with you, and it's fairly new, actually. It's wooden. It's a wooden couch, but then it has this really amazing like denim cover to it. It's very unique. It's nothing I've ever seen before. So I got it at Schneiderman's, in case you're wondering. So,
Love that.
When I was younger, whenever there was a tornado siren that went off, we'd always go into our basement.
Yeah.
But before we went into our basement, I'd always run upstairs and I'd get all of my autographed baseballs and I'd bring them downstairs because I always said, if the tornado knocks over our house, I can at least sell these and help pay for the new house. That was always my thing. Isn't that funny? Talk about sports memorabilia. Yeah, I'd always grab my autographed baseballs just in case we had something we could at least sell when the house got knocked over.
Do you still have them?
Autographed? Yeah, somewhere. I got them in my bins in the back.
Somewhere.
Yeah,
How
I
are
don't.
you gonna get them out of there if there's a fire?
It's in the back. Well, no, it's in the back. We have a weird back room that I don't think I don't think that back room we have can catch fire. It's pretty tucked away. So to finish, we always give everybody the opportunity to plug their business. So, what sets your staging business apart from others in the industry, and what value do you strive to deliver to your clients?
Well, I think one thing that actually sets Stage to Sell apart is that I'm also an agent. I'm an agent on the team, so I really understand the market and what's going on and who's shopping, right? I think that's really important. There are a lot of stagers out there that have been in the industry a long time, and they kind of had an old school mentality. They don't really understand like who's out there running around. They don't have that advantage where I do, which is awesome. Plus, I'm on a team, and our team
The best team ever.
Best team ever. Definitely. Yes, and if you are a real estate agent and or a stager interested in getting into the business, I will put a plug in for our team that we're an awesome team, super collaborative, super supportive. I would love to meet with you.
Love that. Yes. Thanks, Mel. And where can people find you? Social media, phone number, what do you want to give them?
Yeah, so my social media handle is actually my name, but under my name is Stage to Sell, so Melanie Joas for Instagram. And then Facebook, I have 2 accounts. I have my personal account, and then I also have Stage to Sell. And then you can reach out to me either through the Advisor Group website or my Stage to Sell website. So yeah.
Cool. And we will put in the description below some more contact information for Mel. So if you want to get that, you can find that there. Thanks for coming today. That's all we have on this week's Nerdy Agent podcast. And remember, be better